Crash landing. Michael's heart pounded in his chest as the console in front of him lit up with warnings. The spacecraft shuddered violently, hurtling towards the uncharted planet below. His attempts to stabilize the craft were futile. The damage from the asteroid field was too severe. "Mayday! Mayday! This is Explorer 1. I am going down." Coordinates attached, Michael broadcasted into the void, hoping his distress signal reached Earth or any nearby outpost. As the ground approached rapidly, he braced for impact. The crash was jarring, throwing him against his restraints with brutal force. When the world finally stopped spinning, Michael released his harness and surveyed the damage. His ship was a wreck, the cockpit a tangled mess of sparks and broken panels. He grabbed his emergency kit and activated the hatch. Stepping out onto the alien terrain, he looked around in awe. The landscape was breathtaking, with towering flora and a horizon that shimmered with hues he had never seen on Earth. As he checked his kit for the beacon, a rustle from the thick undergrowth made him freeze. Slowly, out of the shadows, emerged a figure, slender, taller than any human, with skin that reflected the planet's eerie light. "Who are you?" Michael called out, instinctively stepping back. The figure stopped, tilting its head curiously. "I am Lyriella, daughter of the Verilian throne," the alien replied, her voice musical but authoritative. "And you are?" "Michael. I was a pilot from Earth. I didn't mean to trespass. My ship crashed." Lyriella approached cautiously, her eyes scanning the spacecraft's wreckage. "You are far from home, Michael from Earth. Is anyone else with you?" "No, just me. And now my ship is beyond repair. I don't even know if my distress signal went out." "Come with me," Lyriella offered after a moment of thought. "My people will help you." Hesitant but seeing no other option, Michael followed. As they walked, Lyriella explained about Verilia, a planet of peace and innovation, unaccustomed to unannounced visitors from the skies. "What will your people think of me?" Michael asked, his voice tinged with worry. "They are kind," Lyriella assured him. "They will be curious, but they understand the value of life, wherever it comes from." Their path led to a sleek vehicle, hovering silently just off the ground. Lyriella gestured for him to enter. As the vehicle lifted smoothly into the air, Michael looked back at the remains of his spacecraft. He was alone, utterly dependent on the goodwill of this alien princess and her mysterious world. The future was uncertain, but for now he had a chance at survival, and perhaps even a new beginning. Chapter 2. The Rescue. The hover vehicle glided silently over the lush canopy of Verilia, weaving through towering structures of natural and architectural marvel. Michael watched, captivated by the scenery, while Lyriella pointed out various landmarks and explained their significance. As they approached a grand structure that shimmered with a translucent, pearl-like quality, Lyriella spoke. "This is the royal palace, the heart of our governance and my home. You will be safe here." The vehicle descended smoothly onto a landing pad. They were met by two figures, both male, dressed in attire that blended seamlessly with the environment. "This is Palon, my chief advisor, and Terso, head of our scientific council," Lyriella introduced. "Greetings, Michael from Earth," Palon said, extending a hand in a surprisingly human gesture. "We've received word of your arrival. It's quite rare we get visitors from the stars." Terso, meanwhile, was more reserved, studying Michael with a keen interest. "I am eager to learn about your technology. The craft you arrived in, there's much we might glean from it, with your permission." "Of course," Michael replied, feeling a mix of relief and nervousness at their warm reception. "I'm grateful for your help. My main concern now is contacting my people to let them know I'm okay." "We'll assist you with that," Terso assured him. First, let's make sure you're in good health. Our medical capabilities are quite advanced. You'll find them non-intrusive." Led by the group, Michael entered the palace, his eyes wide as he took in the intricate designs and glowing elements that seemed to pulse with life. They arrived at a chamber where devices hovered and lights blinked softly. "A quick scan to ensure your well-being," Terso explained, guiding Michael to stand on a marked spot on the floor. The scan was indeed non-intrusive, a gentle hum surrounding him for a moment before the lights turned green. "You're in excellent health, remarkably so," Terso noted, reading the results on a hovering display. "Now, let's address your communication needs." Palon chimed in. "We've intercepted your distress signal and boosted it using our relay systems. It's only a matter of time before your people respond." Michael sighed with relief. "Thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. As we wait for your contact, why not rest and refresh yourself?" Lyriella suggested. "You are our guest, and we have much to show you about Virelia that might interest a traveler like yourself." "Grateful for their hospitality," Michael agreed. Lyriella led him through the corridors, introducing him to the wonders of Virelian technology and culture. They discussed their philosophies, their love for peace, and their advancements in technology that allowed them to live in harmony with their planet. As the day turned to evening, Michael found himself on a balcony overlooking a breathtaking Virelian sunset. Lyriella joined him, her presence both comforting and intriguing. "It's beautiful here," Michael confessed, watching the sky change colors. "So different from Earth, yet there's something familiar about it." Lyriella smiled. "Perhaps it's the universal nature of beauty and peace that feels familiar. We're not so different, you and I, or our peoples. Maybe this accidental visit will prove to be fortuitous for us both." Michael nodded, the weight of his crash landing now transformed into an unexpected opportunity. Here, in this alien world, he found a new hope, not just for survival, but for a bridge between two worlds that had unknowingly awaited this chance meeting. Chapter 3. Language of the Heart. The next morning, after a night of deep and restful sleep in the palace's guest quarters, Michael awoke to find a message waiting on the communication device Lyriella had provided him. "Please join us in the Hall of Harmony after you are ready. Breakfast will be served there," it read. As he made his way to the hall, Michael was greeted by the familiar faces of Lyriella, Palon, and Terso, along with a new figure, a robust Virelian named Vaughan, who was introduced as the Minister of Cultural Affairs. "Good morning, Michael. I hope you rested well," Lyriella said, smiling warmly. "Today, Vaughan will begin teaching you our language more formally. It's quite complex, but necessary for deeper understanding." Vaughan nodded, his deep voice resonant in the spacious hall. "It's a pleasure, Michael. We find that language is a gateway to the heart of our culture. Let's enjoy some breakfast, and then we can start with the basics." Breakfast was a lively affair, with Vaughan introducing Michael to various Virelian dishes, each more intriguing than the last. As they ate, Vaughan explained the structure of the Virelian language, highlighting its tonal nature and the importance of gesture in communication. "Let's start with some basic phrases," Vaughan suggested once the meal was finished. He taught Michael how to say hello, thank you, and other common phrases, correcting his pronunciation with a patient smile. Hello in Virelian was Saliro, and thank you was Keresta. Michael practiced until Vaughan nodded in approval. "You're picking it up quickly," Vaughan commended. "Let's try a simple conversation." They role-played a greeting, with Michael stumbling a bit, but managing to convey his thoughts in Virelian. Lyriella and the others watched, offering encouraging nods and smiles. As the lesson progressed, Terso pulled Michael aside. "While you learn our language, I've been thinking about how to assist you further with contacting Earth. I have a proposal for you." Oh. Michael was intrigued. What kind of proposal? I'd like to show you our communication array. It's far more advanced than the beacon on your ship. Perhaps we can enhance the signal or even establish a direct line to your space agency, Terso explained. That sounds amazing. Yes, I'd love to see it, Michael replied, eager for any opportunity to reassure his colleagues back home. The two men walked to the communication center, a hub filled with screens and devices pulsating with soft, ambient light. Terso explained the technology, which utilized quantum entanglement for near-instant communication across vast distances. With your permission, we can attempt to establish a connection using the last coordinates received from your signal, Terso suggested. Please, let's try, Michael agreed, his heart beating with a mix of excitement and a pinch of anxiety. Terso initiated the system, and they waited as the equipment hummed to life. Moments later, a crackle sounded, and then a clear voice came through. "This is Earth Control to Explorer 1. Do you read?" Michael rushed to the console. "This is Michael. I read you loud and clear." Cheers erupted around him as Terso and the technicians exchanged relieved glances. "We're so relieved to hear your voice, Michael. We've received your distress signal and have been coordinating a rescue mission. Are you safe? What's your status?" "I'm safe. I'm on a planet called Virilia. The people here have been incredibly welcoming and helpful," Michael responded, his voice thick with emotion. "We're glad to hear that, Michael. We'll maintain this line open. Send us all the information about your location and the Virilian technology. Help is on the way." As the connection ended, Michael turned to Terso, his eyes wide with gratitude. "Thank you, Terso, for everything." "It's what we do," Terso replied with a smile. "Now, let's get you back to your language lessons. The better you communicate, the more you'll understand us, and the easier it will be to explain all this to your people." Returning to the Hall of Harmony, Michael found a new appreciation for the language lessons. Each word learned was not just a step towards understanding a new culture, but also a building block in the bridge he was forming between two worlds. Chapter 4. A Day in Virilia. After several days of intensive language lessons with Vaughn, Michael was beginning to grasp the nuances of Virilian speech. Lyriella noticed his progress and decided it was time for him to explore more of Virilia beyond the palace walls. "Today you'll see Virilia through the eyes of its people," Lyriella announced as she, Michael, Palon, and a new figure, Joran, a historian of Virilia, gathered outside the palace in the early morning light. Joran, a tall, lean Virilian with a scholarly demeanor, shook Michael's hand. "I am pleased to guide you today, Michael. There's much to learn and appreciate about our culture and how we harmonize our technology with nature." Their first stop was the Virilian Institute of Technology, where Terso joined them. "Here, we develop technology that sustains and enhances life without harming our planet," Terso explained as they toured a facility where scientists were working on bio-integrated circuits. Michael was impressed. "On Earth, we often struggle with balancing technological advancement with environmental preservation. What you have here is revolutionary. Our philosophy is that technology should flow with nature, not disrupt it," Joran added, leading the way to their next destination. The group then visited the agricultural sectors, where vast fields of crops grew under the careful management of agritech drones. "Food security is vital, yet we manage to maintain it without the extensive use of harmful chemicals," Palon explained. "Our drones monitor plant health and deliver nutrients directly to the roots in precise quantities." As they walked through the fields, Michael noted how peaceful it all seemed. "It's amazing. Back home, agriculture is much more labor-intensive and less precise." Their tour continued to a cultural center, where Michael experienced Virilian art, music, and dance. Joran spoke passionately about Virilia's rich history and its influences on their current culture. In Virilia, our history is not just remembered. It's celebrated continuously, Joran said as they watched a performance that depicted an ancient Virilian tale through a blend of holography and live action. As the day turned to evening, the group settled by a large lake where the city's lights reflected beautifully on the water surface. Liriella and the others unpacked a traditional Virilian meal they had brought with them, and they all sat down to eat together. "This is one of my favorite spots in the city," Liriella shared as she handed Michael a dish. "It reminds us to always reflect, much like the water here." Michael tasted the food, finding the flavors unique yet delightful. "Everything today has been incredible. The technology, the culture. It's a lot to take in, but it's given me a much broader understanding of Virilia and its people." "We hoped it would," Pelon said, smiling. "Understanding is the first step towards true friendship. We believe that building bridges between different worlds starts with these shared experiences." As the group laughed and shared stories into the evening, Michael felt a sense of belonging. The day had not only broadened his understanding of Virilian society, but had also deepened his connections with Liriella and her people. In the tranquility of the lakeside, under the stars of a foreign sky, Michael found a new appreciation for the planet that had become his unexpected home. Chapter 5. The Gala of Galaxies. Michael stood in his quarters, nervously adjusting the traditional Virilian garment that Liriella had provided for him. It was the evening of the Gala of Galaxies, an annual event where dignitaries from various planets convened to promote interstellar harmony. For the first time, a human would be among the guests, and not just any human, but one who had crashed onto their planet unannounced. As he made his way to the grand ballroom, Liriella met him at the doorway. "You look very distinguished, Michael," she complimented, her eyes sparkling with amusement at his uneasy posture. "Thanks, Liriella." "I feel a bit out of place, though," Michael confessed, taking in her radiant appearance. "You'll be fine. Just stay by my side," she reassured him with a smile. The ballroom was a breathtaking spectacle of lights and colors, with representatives from different worlds mingling in harmony. Pelon and Joran joined them, each dressed in similarly impressive attire. "Remember, the gala is not just a social event. It's a chance to forge alliances and learn from one another," Pelon explained as they entered the room. Joran, ever the historian, added, "Each species brings a unique perspective to the table. Tonight, you bring yours, Michael, and it's a rare opportunity for everyone here." As they circulated the room, Michael was introduced to various alien dignitaries. The conversations often turned to inquiries about Earth and human culture, which Michael answered as best he could, drawing curious nods and thoughtful hums. During a lull, Terso approached with a fellow scientist from another planet, a tall being named Kalo. "Michael, Kalo is an expert in interstellar communication technologies. I thought you two should meet," Terso said, facilitating the introduction. "It's an honor to meet you," Kalo said, his voice resonant with a deep echo. "I've heard about your unexpected journey. There's much we might explore together in terms of technology exchange." Michael was eager to engage, and they quickly delved into a technical discussion, with Kalo expressing interest in the human approach to space exploration. As the evening progressed, Liriella took to the center stage to address the assembly. The room quieted, all eyes on her as she spoke of unity and the potential for peaceful exploration and mutual growth. After her speech, the music began, and Liriella led Michael to the dance floor. "Don't worry, just follow my lead," she whispered as they started to dance. Surprisingly, Michael found the rhythm and soon moved in sync with Liriella. Around them, others joined in, the dance floor becoming a whirl of colors and graceful movements from beings of all shapes and sizes. "You're doing wonderfully, Michael," Liriella said, her face lit with a genuine smile. "It's easier than I thought," Michael admitted, relaxing into the dance. "Or maybe it's just a good partner." The dance ended with a round of applause, and they bowed to each other, their cheeks flushed with exhilaration. As they stepped off the dance floor, Turso and Palon joined them, clapping Michael on the back. "You've certainly made an impression tonight," Palon chuckled. "Indeed," Joran agreed. "It's a night of many firsts, and your presence here has certainly been a highlight." The night continued with more discussions, laughter, and sharing of ideas and cultures. Michael felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not just in surviving his crash landing, but in bridging his world with theirs. As the gala drew to a close, Michael and Lyriella stood by a large window, looking out at the stars. "Tonight was incredible," Michael said. "Thank you for making me a part of it." Lyriella nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It was my pleasure." Tonight showed that even the most unexpected events can lead to new beginnings. "Who knows what the future holds for us, Michael?" As they turned back to join the others, Michael felt a hopeful anticipation for whatever lay ahead, certain that whatever it was, it would be faced together. Chapter 6. Ripples of Discontent. The morning after the Gala of Galaxies, Michael found himself seated at a round table in the Verilian Council chamber. The air in the room was tense, a stark contrast to the lively celebration the night before. Around him sat members of the Verilian High Council, their expressions unreadable. Lyriella sat at his side, her demeanor calm but her gaze sharp. Palon began the meeting, his voice steady. The presence of a human on Verilia has drawn attention, not all of it positive. Some members of the council and a few visiting dignitaries have raised concerns about his role here. Michael straightened in his chair. Concerns? What kind of concerns? One of the council members, a stern-looking man named Velron, leaned forward. "You are an outsider, Michael. While your arrival was accidental, your growing influence on Princess Lyriella and her decisions has not gone unnoticed." "I'm not trying to influence anyone," Michael replied, keeping his voice level. "I'm just trying to learn, adapt, and contribute where I can." "Contribute?" Velron's tone was skeptical. "Your presence introduces unknown variables. How can we be sure your intentions align with Verilia's?" Lyriella's voice cut through the rising tension. "Michael has proven himself trustworthy. He has made every effort to understand our culture and respect our ways. His presence here is not a threat, but an opportunity." Another council member, a woman named Serine, spoke up. "Princess, while we respect your judgment, some worry that your personal connection with Michael may cloud your decisions." Lyriella's jaw tightened, but before she could respond, Michael spoke. "I understand your concerns, Serine, and I won't pretend that my being here hasn't caused some disruption. But I didn't choose to crash on Verilia. What I've chosen is to respect your people, your traditions, and your leadership. If there's a way to prove that, I'm willing to do it." Joran, who had been silent until now, nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps action speaks louder than words. Michael, you've shown an eagerness to learn and help. Let us put that to the test. A joint project could demonstrate your commitment to Verilia." Michael glanced at Lyriella, who gave him an encouraging nod. "I'm willing to try," he said firmly. Palon tapped his chin. "There's a research initiative in the agricultural sectors. They're working to improve crop yields in more challenging environments. Michael, you could join the team and contribute with any knowledge you have from Earth." "That sounds perfect," Michael said. "Agriculture on Earth has its challenges, and I've studied a bit about sustainable methods. I'd be honored to help." Velron didn't look entirely convinced, but relented. "Very well. Let's see if your actions match your words." Later that day, Michael arrived at the agricultural sectors with Lyriella and Turso, who was overseeing the project. They met with a team of Verilian scientists and agritech engineers. Among them was Darnell, a no-nonsense engineer who greeted Michael with a skeptical glance. "So, you're the human everyone's talking about," Darnell said bluntly. "Let's see if you're as useful as the princess claims." Michael smiled, refusing to be rattled. "I'll do my best. What's the current challenge?" Darnell led them to a test field where several crops were struggling to grow. These plants are being tested in harsher conditions to simulate less fertile regions of the planet. So far, progress has been slow. Michael crouched by the plants, inspecting the soil and the irrigation system. "On Earth, we use techniques like crop rotation and companion planting to enhance soil fertility. Have you tried introducing symbiotic plants to improve the soil?" The team exchanged curious glances, and Terso nodded. "We've considered it but haven't tested it extensively. It's an idea worth exploring." For the next several days, Michael worked alongside the team, applying Earth-based techniques and learning Virelian methods in return. Despite Darnell's initial skepticism, the two men developed a mutual respect as they collaborated. One evening, as Michael and Lyriella walked back to the palace, she smiled at him. "You're making quite an impression on the team. Even Darnell seems to have warmed up to you." "I think he just enjoys having someone to challenge," Michael joked. "But honestly, it's been rewarding. Working together, learning from each other, it feels like we're actually making a difference." "You are," Lyriella said, her tone soft but firm. "And you're showing the council that you're here for the right reasons." By the end of the week, the test crops showed significant improvement, and the team presented their findings to the council. Velrun, while still guarded, acknowledged the success. "It seems you've proven yourself, Michael. For now, you have my respect." Michael bowed his head slightly. "Thank you. I'll continue to do my best." As the meeting adjourned, Lyriella turned to Michael, her expression filled with pride. "You've shown them what I already knew, that you belong here." Michael felt a warmth in her words and her gaze. For the first time since his arrival, he felt not just accepted but truly valued. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew they could face them together. Chapter 7. Declaration. Michael paced the expansive hall, his boots making a faint scuffing sound against the polished floor. It was the day of the public assembly, and while the room was still empty, he could almost hear the echo of what it would be like when it was packed with Virelians. Above him, the translucent dome revealed a sky painted with the soft pinks and oranges of dawn. Lyriella entered, her ceremonial attire shimmering in the morning light. She paused when she saw him, her expression unreadable. "You're up early," she said. "I couldn't sleep," Michael admitted. "There's a lot riding on today." Lyriella moved closer, placing a hand lightly on his arm. "You don't have to bear the burden alone. We're doing this together." Michael managed a small smile. "I know. But still, it's not every day that someone from Earth stands in front of an entire alien civilization and declares, well, whatever it is we're about to declare. You could just say you're nervous," Lyriella teased, her voice soft. "That's allowed." "Fine. I'm nervous," Michael said, shaking his head. "What if this doesn't go well? What if—" Lyriella cut him off gently. "You've earned their trust. The work you did with the agricultural sectors, the relationships you've built, they see that you're not here by accident anymore. They see you as part of our future." Michael exhaled slowly, the tension easing slightly. "It's just a lot to process. Back home, I'd be lucky if I was asked to give a speech at a company meeting. And now you're standing with me," Lyriella finished. "And together, we'll show them what's possible." As the assembly began, the hall filled with Virelian citizens, council members, and dignitaries from neighboring planets. The murmurs of conversation faded when Lyriella stepped forward, her regal presence commanding attention. "My people," she began, her voice calm and clear, "today we acknowledge a change, one that has grown steadily and cannot be ignored. You know Michael of Earth, a visitor who arrived under unexpected circumstances. In the time since his arrival, he has worked alongside us, learned our ways, and shown us that understanding and respect transcend species and worlds." There was a pause, and Michael could feel hundreds of eyes shifting toward him. Lyriella continued, "But Michael is no longer just a visitor. He is one of us now. He has earned his place among us through action and intent. Today, I stand before you not just as your princess, but as someone who has come to know Michael personally, and I declare my intention to make him my husband." The room filled with startled whispers and low murmurs. Michael could feel his pulse quicken. He hadn't heard the declaration put so plainly before, and yet, standing beside her now, he felt a strange sense of calm. Lyriella's confidence was contagious. "I know that this may come as a surprise," Lyriella continued, her voice steady. "Some of you may question what this means for Virilia, for our traditions, for our future. But understand this. Michael and I stand together because we believe in what Virilia stands for: unity, cooperation, and the strength that comes from embracing difference. Our union symbolizes not only our love, but our belief in the potential of our worlds to learn and grow together." A figure stepped forward from the audience. It was Velrun. The older council member still carried a look of stern doubt, but his tone was respectful. "Princess, while I do not oppose your decision, many will wonder, how will this affect your ability to lead? How will this alliance with an outsider influence Virilia's path?" Lyriella met Velrun's gaze directly. "I will lead as I always have, by listening, learning, and making choices that benefit our people. Michael does not seek to change Virilia. He seeks to be part of it. His perspective will only enrich what we already have. And, more importantly, my commitment to you, my people, remains unchanged." Velrun nodded slowly, stepping back into the crowd. The murmurs began to shift in tone, less concerned, more curious, perhaps even supportive. Michael, sensing that the moment had come, stepped forward. He spoke carefully in the Virilian language, a speech he and Lyriella had prepared together. "To the people of Virilia," he began, his accent still slightly off but understandable. "I came here by accident, but I have stayed by choice. I have learned from you, worked with you, and come to respect your ways deeply. My intention is not to disrupt, but to contribute. I love Lyriella, and I pledge myself to her and to this planet that has become my home." A round of applause began, hesitant at first, but growing steadily. Palon, Terso, and Joran were among the first to clap, their support unmistakable. As the assembly concluded, Michael and Lyriella stood side by side, facing their people. The path ahead was not entirely certain, but in that moment they were united, human and Virilian, ready to shape a future together. Chapter 8. Harmony and Union. The Grand Plaza at the heart of Virilia was alive with activity. Streams of light cascaded from the crystalline spires above, illuminating a vast gathering of Virilian citizens and visiting dignitaries. Michael stood at one end of the platform, adjusting the ceremonial robe he'd been given. Next to him, Lyriella's gaze swept across the crowd, her expression calm but radiant. "You're not nervous?" Michael asked, glancing at her. He tugged at the edge of the garment, trying to make it sit more comfortably on his shoulders. "Not in the slightest," she replied with a small smile. "Are you?" "Terrified," he admitted, but the hint of humor in his tone made her laugh softly. "You know, back on Earth, our weddings are a bit more reserved. Usually smaller, fewer floating lights. Well, we Virilians never do things halfway," she teased, brushing a hand lightly against his arm. Just remember, Michael, this is not only about us. It's about what we represent. Today, we're showing everyone here, and beyond, that unity is possible, even across galaxies. Michael nodded, though he still felt the weight of every pair of eyes fixed on them. He shifted his stance, trying to appear composed, while Lyriella gestured for Pelon to join them. The counselor approached, carrying a small, intricate device. "Ready?" Pelon asked, his voice steady. Michael could tell he was speaking more to Lyriella than to him. "More than ready," Lyriella replied, taking Michael's hand. Pelon stepped forward to address the crowd. His voice rang out, clear and commanding. "People of Varelia and esteemed guests, we gather today not only to witness a union, but to celebrate a milestone in our history. For the first time, a Varelian and a human come together in partnership, symbolizing our shared future." A murmur swept through the assembly, a mixture of curiosity, approval, and awe. Pelon raised his hands slightly, silencing the crowd. Today's ceremony combines the traditions of Varelia and Earth. We begin with the exchange of the luminous bands, a Varelian symbol of mutual respect and shared purpose. Joran, who had taken on the role of cultural advisor, stepped forward with two thin, glowing rings. He handed one to Michael and one to Lyriella, his expression warm and encouraging. Lyriella slipped the band onto Michael's finger with a smooth, practiced motion. "This light," she said, her voice strong yet intimate, "represents the connection we've forged. May it guide us, always." Michael swallowed hard, then placed the band on Lyriella's hand. "And this light," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest, "symbolizes the bond we share, the trust we've built, and the journey we'll walk together." Applause broke out, spreading like a wave across the crowd. The Varelians expressed their approval with shimmering light displays above their heads, while the visiting dignitaries clapped in their own traditional gestures. But the ceremony wasn't over yet. Lyriella turned toward the central pillar of the platform, a towering crystalline structure that pulsed gently with an inner glow. Pelon gestured for Michael to place his hand on one side of the crystal, while Lyriella placed hers on the other. The crystal brightened, emitting a soft hum that grew in intensity. This, Joran had explained earlier, was the bonding light, a Varelian ritual that officially recognized the union before the planet's people. Michael felt a gentle warmth spread through his hand and up his arm. The hum resonated not only in his ears but in his chest, as if it connected directly to something deep within him. He glanced at Lyriella, who was smiling at him. For a moment, the world seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them and the vibrant light enveloping them. When the glow dimmed, Pelon spoke again. "By the light of Varelia, and with the blessing of our people, you are now united." The crowd erupted in cheers, a harmonious blend of human applause and Varelian luminous displays. Michael looked out at the sea of faces, feeling a sense of accomplishment and pride. But more than that, he felt at home, not just on this planet, but at Lyriella's side. As the crowd began to disperse for the reception, Michael turned to Lyriella. "Did we just make history?" he asked, a grin tugging at the corners of his mouth. Lyriella laughed, a sound that was both melodic and reassuring. "I believe we did." Pelon and Joran joined them, both wearing smiles that spoke of relief and satisfaction. "You did well," Pelon said. "The people are inspired, and even Velrun seemed impressed, though he'd never admit it." Michael chuckled. "I'll take that as a win." The four of them walked down from the platform, greeted by friends and well-wishers. Terso approached, holding a small device. "Michael, I've been tracking the interstellar communication channels. Earth is sending a formal message of congratulations." Michael glanced at the screen, seeing a message from Earth's space agency. It was brief but heartfelt, acknowledging the union and expressing hope for continued cooperation between their worlds. "It's official, then," Michael said. "Earth and Virilia are on the same path." Lyriella squeezed his hand. "And it all started with you and me." As they walked toward the banquet area, Michael felt the tension of the past weeks lift from his shoulders. For the first time since he'd crash-landed on this planet, he truly felt like he belonged. And as he looked at Lyriella, he knew this was just the beginning of something extraordinary, something they would build together, step by step, light by light.